Hey everyone, I know I've gotten a lot of questions lately, asking where I've been, why I've been keeping my head down so low. So it took me a while to kind of figure out if this is something I wanted to do. I've debated it back and forth. I know this topic kind of carries a heavy social stigma, especially for men. But I think it was time for me to kind of allow myself to be vulnerable, which is not in my wheelhouse by any means, but um, and after months of treatment, I thought this is kind of something that would allow myself to. I guess it's just a step in my recovery. So, anyways, this is my first vlog. Another kind of factor in my decision to open up is that hopefully, potentially, someone else out there that might be going through the same type of thing will either gain some knowledge, as I hope to do a series of these videos, and then seek out some help for themselves if they can't find something that I can offer to help in the meantime. But anyways, to get things going, I just kind of want to throw this out. But I know when it comes to like mental illness and potential self-harming issues, I understand all too well that it's not something to make light of. So that being said, for me, it helps when I kind of see the humor in my own experience. So if I say anything or make jokes, you know, everything that I've done is definitely low hanging fruit for me. So it certainly only pertains to me, and I'm not making light of the situation at all for others because I understand, how difficult it is. Um, but anyways, I also want to acknowledge that I've met some incredible people along my journey on both sides of the therapist chair. My path has allowed me to witness firsthand some of the most life-changing situations affecting not only the individual suffering, but truly everyone around them, for better and sometimes worse. I've seen everything, heard everything at least, but seen a lot too. Um, Also, I want to give a quick plug, real quick, to I know a lot of you probably aren't located here in Northeast Ohio, but I want to acknowledge Cleveland Clinic Akron General, specifically the main campus and Fairlawn offices that were just incredible resources for me to get through the last 6 months or so. If it wasn't for a number of people that I've met and talked to, I wouldn't be here today, that's for sure. So again, I want to thank, and they hopefully, as they see this, they know who they are. I'll say hi to Shanti and Heidi, and thank them especially because somehow they just got me. But anyways, and then also, of course, there'd be no therapist without patients. So my encounters with others suffering has been something I've kind of struggled to put into words. It's easy for me to kind of blow myself off and dismiss my needs, as it's kind of a symptom of depression and anxiety. It's easier for us to delve into someone else's problem than recognize and dealing with our own, and that's true for most people. But I've met some amazing people doing amazing things on a daily basis who've had their lives halted and sometimes even come to a dead stop. Some of them tell stories of, the last time leaving their bed was 3 days ago, and coincided with the last time they brushed their teeth. And they're stone faced, brutally honest, and I believe them. I know how it feels. I certainly would never think to rate someone's illness over anyone else's, as we have no clue what anyone else is doing or how they're doing on a daily basis. So I'm certainly not one to judge. But that being said, it's been very difficult to see these bright, whole world ahead of them teenagers and early 20-somethings struggle with similar issues as myself. And maybe it's my belief that it's just not fair to suffer so badly at that age, or because I have a son that's that age. But it hits home when I see that, and often I wish I could just inherit their pain, and since I feel that way, I wish I could just take it from them and off their hands and let them have a safe and healthy start to their adult years. But yeah, it's tough to see. So if you know someone that's going through something, like I said, you don't know what anyone's going through, and that's any time of day, any age, etc. So yeah, being in the trenches the last 6 months of treatment, these disorders are a real bitch, but they're also hard to experience and witness firsthand. So, all right, so me, what's my diagnosis, you ask? Well, in baseball terms, I've kind of hit a solid triple of severe depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder, which is all pretty rad. How the hell did I end up in my mid 40s, especially doing a vlog about mental illness after hitting my triple is a great question. And if you know the answer, shoot me a text and let me know because I'm dying to know myself. One thing we learn is depression is super PC, and that it sees no colors, age, social status, tax brackets, except for those of you wearing MAGA hats. It definitely chose you for a reason. Just kidding, sort of. But while I'm now aware of my issues and how they go back as far as 7-8 years, if maybe longer, it's something that I've learned to have to grasp, recognize, and accept. Finding joy was never my strong suit, and depression is like so much easier to do, anyways. Yeah, I have these urge behaviors, which are really prominent in my daily routine. They're like spot on clockwork, automatic behaviors that kind of bottle me down. While they happen less frequently now, there are times where I'm almost powerless to kind of continue and to block them out or change them. It's been so long that I've inherently done these urges that it's kind of like retraining my whole thought process, which is not easy, especially at my age. So despite what I may be feeling, I struggle with these certain patterns of behavior. My big three are failure thinking, downward spiraling, and isolating. So I'll lay these out for you a little bit. Failure thinking is when you compare yourself to people around you. And of course, no one's drawing correlations to the homeless or the begotten people out there. Now, we swing big and for the fences, finding the most successful people around us, or those who might grace the cover of Rolling Stone, Sports Illustrated. We might be asking, why isn't LeBron courting us to LA? Or that should be me. Downward spiraling is something that I'm really, really good. Like I freaking rock it out. I'm sure most of you can't relate, but I have a really difficult time with life. I've lived so long feeling so little joy. Depression is really kind of the only mood that I can exist in. If it sounds awful, but it's like my comfort zone, my safe place. And if I feel any other emotion like happiness, excitement, etc., it's very foreign to me, and I need to get out of it and fast. So this space in here, stuck inside my own head, it's a really dark place. It's the kind of like wrong side of the tracks, and Bob should not be there alone, ever. So, back to my downward spiraling, my go-tos are like listening to depressing music. Linkin Park is my drug of choice. I found a lot of solace in their music, their lyrics. Obviously, a lot of people know what Chester Bennington went through, and ultimately, tragically, how his life came to an end. But for some reason, their words, his words, their music, it gripped me. Outside of like Linkin Park, any sad YouTubes of like baby chicks becoming chicken wings, that's, I don't know, watching the Fault in Our Stars over and over. That movie gets me. Whatever emotion or state I was in, if I wasn't full on depressed, I was damn well going to take the highway there. I'd find a way to drive myself lower and lower. That's just what I did. The last urge I mentioned is isolating, which you can probably, which speaks for itself. But I can honestly exist alone for days without leaving, answering my phone, text, or any of the wonderful forms of social media out there. And by the way, speaking of social media and mental illnesses go together like matches and gas. Turn that stuff off, or at least make sure that like whatever you're following, there's some affirmative type things that you're following as well, positive affirmations, because you know it's so easy to get hooked on what your whoever was named magna cum laude in your college graduate class, what they're doing, and the homes they have, the cars they drive. That stuff just kind of eats you up in a heartbeat. So again, if you can't avoid it when you're feeling like this, certainly find some positives. All right, let me pause here for a minute because I should have said this earlier, but the fact that I'm introducing my dark passenger to you, as I like to call it, it's not because I want attention or a pat on the back. I definitely don't need to hear, you'll snap out of it, cheer up. There's people out there that have it worse than you. Happiness is a choice. The only choice I'll be debating if I hear that is which shin of yours to kick in half. Avoid saying those to anyone. Trust me, it just avoids a sore walk home later. But yes, not looking for any affirmation, validation, or acknowledgement from anyone in sharing this. I'm kind of supposed to be doing this for myself anyways. And I'll kind of pause here and let my therapist nod their heads in approval because I'm sure they'd be proud of me as well. So this past fall, actually this past summer, I'd kind of done that whole isolation thing. I've kind of just disappeared out of life. Towards August, September, I felt like I had hit bottom. And looking back, I was not even close, but I certainly wasn't in a healthy place of existence. It's odd because where I'm going with this now and how I got there, I don't quite recall the specifics, so it's difficult for me to say what triggered me. I know my therapist and psychiatrist have asked me and worked with me to try to identify those moments. But I go from 0 to 60 not knowing how or why, and I don't hit the brake. So, but leading up into late fall, I knew I had to make some changes. So I called my primary doctor and got an appointment the next day. Now, I love my doctor. He's amazing and he gets me. However, he's not leading the battle on mental illnesses. He's a little bit older, but he tries hard and he does what he can, so I'm good with it. Now, he prescribed me some medications that had been on a year previously. Now, he had prescribed me some medications that I was on a year previously. And at the time, I was seeing a therapist that I guess we had so much in common, it became like a friendship. So I kind of fell out of habit of talking to someone. So finding a therapist that you connect with is super important. And I think we just over-connected on certain issues. So that's not her fault, not my fault. It's just, it was what it is. So I weaned off that and I had stopped taking my meds. And that would have been about a year previous, like I said, from fall of 2018. So anyways, my doctor looks back and, sends me the prescription that I had been on a year previous. But, he was coming back from vacation or something and said he read, about another drug he wanted to also kind of include. So I was on A, B, and C. And, he walked in and he said, when you take this, he's like, I promise you, tomorrow's going to be rainbow unicorns and like free Kiss tickets. I was like, yo, doc, that sounds fantastic. So I like high five him out the door. And I'm dancing through the lobby, avoiding, oxygen tanks and old people sneezing, ready to go home and hit these meds and wake up for what I was hoping for, colorful rock and roll unicorns. So fast forward 8 hours later, and, I wake up, I'm ready to throw up my devil horns and turn on some Kiss, but no dice. It's like almost nothing had changed from the previous night. I mean, zero, zip, nada. So I was really disappointed. I don't know what I expected or why I had assumed that it was going to happen overnight. I don't think he told me that, honestly, realistically. Of course, now, looking back, I know any of these medications that you take a while to get in your system. And then, even then, it's a constant battle of how much, what interacts with what interacts with, other meds that you might be taking. So, you know, that day came and went, and I settled in the next night, and took some more pills, and I thought, okay, tomorrow's it. It's gonna be an anxiety, depression free day. Um, However, I woke up again the next day, feeling the same. I was very frustrated. I was angry, and I ended up having a really dark night that night for whatever reason. Again, my triggers I'm not exactly sure of, but I had a trigger. And so, every negative emotion kind of lit up in my head like a Christmas tree. What I did next still kind of echoes in my mind with such a sense of ease and almost natural behavior that it scares me even today. Um, this is a perfect example of why my therapists are so concerned about my thought processes leading up to what I did next. So, but let me quickly pause here as I get all technical for a second. We have like two areas that we process our actions from in our brains. We have the wise mind and we have the emotional mind. So boy, my therapist could see this, they'd be so proud of me. I really believe that. But anyways, ideally, what happens is when we process a thought or a feeling, we want our wise mind to throw in its 2 cents and our emotional mind to throw in its 2 cents so that we get a rational, fulfilling, healthy reaction. Now, think of these as like paths in a forest. Okay, we have the option of reacting to a certain situation a million different ways. Okay, follow one of a million different paths to reach one of a million different possible objectives. While suffering from depression, as I mentioned earlier, I needed to bounce like out of uncomfortable moments, which could be great moments or just awkward moments or whatever. I needed to jump out of that quickly. And after you do that, making decision after decision, after so long, I kind of like liken it to pass through a forest that you've got all these options, these paths to take. However, if you keep taking the same one, the quickest, the shortest, out of the forest, all the other paths begin to overgrow. And I'm not making this up. You can Google this, I swear. So I had beaten down this path of getting, out of those uncomfortable moments, happy moments, anything, and just, wore out that one single path. So that was every decision I made was made that with that intention. So back to the 3 bottles of meds that are in my hand that my doctor prescribed. Um, my wise mind had pretty much said, yo, Dre, we out of here, and left me and my emotional mind to ourselves. And remember, when left alone, what's between my ears, I should not be in there alone. So, emotional mind kind of said, Bob, I think what your doctor meant was, rainbows, unicorns, and kiss tickets are possible, but only if you take all your meds. So, this would be the second of three. A fourth was foiled about a year earlier. Serious attempt of taking my life inside of 16 months. Roughly 90 pills entered my system that night, unaware of what was going to happen to me, but obviously not concerned either. So, obviously, my actions were discovered, and I was ushered off to the ER. Important note here that when you decide to take such extreme actions, you are what is called a pink slip, meaning that you have no say in what you do, where you will be heading, and for any duration of time. You're under a doctor's care, and legally they have you trapped. So I'll explain more about some of my hospitalizations and other oncoming vlogs, but anyways, yeah, you would think I would have learned the first time, but spoiler alert, there's also a sequel to this 4 months later. So, but anyways, now kids, like they say, drugs kill, but I'll be the first to tell you, not all the time. Sometimes they just give you like an exclusive ticket to parts of the hospital that no one likes to talk about, let alone see. So I had scored like a 5-day backstage pass. So yeah, thanks emotional mind. But I don't know. There's a lot more I'll get back into, And certainly, I want to discuss some of the treatment things that I went through because I think that's super important. Um, but I've got a whole bunch of ideas kind of running through my head. I apologize for my voice, as I'm kind of fighting off a cold this week. Um, but yeah, my plan here is to kind of show my recovery process and kind of at least let people know that if they're going through this, they're not alone. Trust me, there's so many people out there. So, um, but anyways, yeah, I want to save something for the three people that are looking at me like a drag or a danger to society, and I have something to look forward to. But yeah, I've got plenty more stories, including catheters and pretty nurses, um, actually believing I had died, um, teaching an 18-year-old fellow psych patient how to work a VCR so we could watch Harry Potter together, while we were trapped on floor 6400, which I'm sure most people in the healthcare area in Cleveland and Akron know what that floor is. But again, I just want to, it bears repeating that truly my intention is to demonstrate to others that there's help and relief available to anyone. Even when you're in the worst place mentally, while I'm still on my journey, I'm optimistic that, thinking that the chapters in my unfinished book will eventually tell a pretty good story. But most importantly, I suppose to help me better accept myself, who I am, and that I'm not just a walking diagnosis of anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder. Again, I'm not looking for pats on the back or good lucks and stuff like that. I just want people to share this and keep this in mind when they come across people that they might be suffering from the same. So anyway, coolio. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you or someone you know shows signs of potential mental illnesses, ask them. I've included some links up above or down below, where to seek some help above and below. So please do a favor and don't wait. Talk to somebody, reach out, and that goes for yourselves. So until next time, love yourselves and each other. Peace.